And let's begin with updates on the power outage in northern Nigeria, where the Transmission Company of Nigeria has announced that the ongoing repairs to the damaged transmission line that led to a blackout in the region will be completed by Sunday, 3rd of November 2024. It noted, however, that alternative measures have been implemented to transmit 400 megawatts to certain areas within the next 24 hours. The managing director of TCN, Sule Abdulaziz, disclosed this at a press briefing on Tuesday in Abuja, updating on efforts to restore electricity to the region. On 22nd October, a TCN reported a power outage in the northern east and northwest and parts of north-central Nigeria after the 330 kilowatt Ugwuaji double-circuit transmission lines 1 and 2 tripped off. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has expressed concern over the blackouts in the northern region of Nigeria in the last week and is now leading efforts to end disruption that has paralyzed social and economic activities. The president has directed the Minister of Power, Adebola, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and relevant agencies to speed up the pace of work to restore electricity to all the affected states in the north. And a statement by the Special Advisor to the President, Bayo Ononuga, the President Tinubu is saddened by the reports of vandalism and willful destruction of power infrastructure and other public assets that caused the unfortunate blackouts. He charged TCN engineers not to relent in bringing immediate relief to the people who need power to sustain their social and economic activities. In a related development, northern governors have raised concern over the blackouts in the region and wants the federal government and related authorities to fast-track restoration of power. The Northern Governors Forum said this after a meeting of the union alongside traditional rulers and other stakeholders held in Kaduna State. The vandalism of a transmission line in the region has thrown the north into a blackout for days. Businesses in several parts of the region are recounting losses, while economic activities have been paralyzed in some places owing to the power outage. Let's also tell you that northern governors have rejected President Bola Tinubu's proposed tax reform bill now before the National Assembly, citing concerns over regional impact. In a communique issued on Monday, Northern Governors Forum Chairman, Governor Muhammadu Inuwa of Gombe State, expressed the governor's strong opposition to provisions in the bill, particularly the shift to derivation-based model for value-added tax distribution. They argue this puts the North at a disadvantage, as VAT is currently remitted based on company headquarters, not where goods and services are consumed. The governors urged lawmakers to reject the bill, calling instead for equitable national policies that avoid marginalizing any region. The forum also appealed to Nigerians to stay calm amid ongoing economic challenges. Away from that, embattled member of the House of Representatives, Alex Ikweche, has tendered a public apology for assaulting a boat driver, Stephen Abuwaseya, in the nation's capital, Abuja. In a statement on Tuesday, Ikweche said he regrets the unfortunate incident, which does not reflect the values that he strived to uphold. The lawmaker also apologized to the Inspector General of Police for his unintended disparaging remarks. In a now viral video, the House of Representatives member was seen slapping the boat driver. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has urged Nigerians to wait for the outcome of investigation by police. On Monday, the Federal Capital Territory FCT Police Command detained and quizzed Ikweche at the Maitama Police Station over the incident. And teenage boys from Lagos, Nigeria, who were trafficked to Ghana under the guise of job opportunities have successfully been rescued. Ghanaian security officers, following an in-depth investigation led by News Central, raided the location where the boys were held and apprehended one member of the trafficking syndicate. Now, this comes after News Central reported on the plea from the mothers of Daniel and Zil, residents of Ikotari Settlement Estate in Lagos, urging authorities to expedite efforts to locate and rescue their children who were lured by unidentified individuals promising employment.
It all started with a plea by the mothers of two teenage boys who had gone missing from their home in Ikota resettlement estate in the Lekki corridor of Lagos. The boys, Daniel and Zeal, were reportedly lured and abducted by unidentified individuals who had promised them jobs.
One of his friends came. He told him that they are going out to go and art film. Not to know that this is the word that the man that want to take them to Ghana, that put in their mind that they should deceive the parents, not to tell the parents the truth where they are going.
Okay, on that fateful day, that was 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow, Friday, make it 3 weeks. Yes, I don't have phone. Give me the agent's number, give me the agent's phone, and write the place you are going to so that I will know in case anything happens. So this is how we are start running up and down since that very day till now.
Following the complaints, News Central special investigative correspondent got cracking, and Daniel and Zeal were eventually traced to where they were being held against their will in faraway Ghana.
That was after being a guest in the hotel where the guy was working at the time in Lagos. And according to the victims, he said, whenever this guy comes around, he comes around with so much flamboyancy, and he spends a lot of money in his hotel. And so that got him attracted to this particular guy, and he then started asking for a job. And then that was how the deal was set, and he promised him jobs. And the victim himself then invited his friend. It was from Zeal to Daniel. But all we know is that from that day that they left their homes in the guise of going to get the job, they found themselves in Ghana. They have said also from the messages we've had from them earlier that they were blindfolded before they got to the location where we rescued them from.
News Central secured the collaboration of Ghanaian police service to rescue the boys from their captors. In the process, 2 of those involved in the syndicate holding them captive were arrested by the Ghana Police Service. A total of 5 boys, 4 Nigerians and 1 Ghanaian were freed from the abductors. The boys narrate their harrowing experience.
I wanted to go back home.
Because you told him you wanted to go back home. How long have you been here?
It's over a month now.
Over a month now. Victims with us here. We have 5 people rescued. The Ghanaian police have been very, very fantastic and hospitable. These are the victims that we've rescued so far. These are their bags that they came to Accra with. This is Zeal, Daniel, Zeal, and what's your name? Ezekiel, Bright, and Victor. And they are all adults, 18 years and above. So that's the development. We also have 2 culprits in detention that were apprehended. One of them on the location, at the location where we discovered these guys, while the other one, we had to meet him up at a different location. They are both in detention right now.
For the families of the 2 boys abducted from the Ikota resettlement estate, especially their mothers, it was unbridled joy and thanksgiving for their rescue.
Very, very excited, very happy. I'm more than happy. In fact, it's a great honor. The police people, they did a lot of things. In fact, it's beyond my expectation.
What do you feel? How did I feel? I'm overwhelmed. I thank the government. So what to advise other persons?
I'm so happy. Like, now my brain is now set to give us mental stress. God, everything else was not just in peace. This one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. Everyone was just started. We're very, very happy.
For now, the police in Ghana will push with their investigations, and hopefully the kingpins behind this sad tale will be brought to book. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Chooks Ene.
News Central's Marshal Nonye is still in Ghana following up with the Ghanaian Police Service as efforts are underway to apprehend the kingpin of the trafficking syndicate.
Yeah, this is the same apartment where the guys were rescued yesterday, the victims that were held here. Some of them, we hear they were kept since May, while the Nigerian boys who were taken over a month ago, and they were kept in this place. And usually, we came this morning to have a chat with the neighbors to find out how this place has been existing without no notification to the police, and they have not been aware that people were being held hostage in this place and fraudulent activities happening here. But, you know, their reaction was usually you'd find the house under lock and key like this, and even when you look inside, when we came yesterday it was like this, and then inside we had another key that was locked. The serenity of the place quiet. You wouldn't suspect that there were people in this place, and you can find the surroundings are overgrown with grasses and within the compound, so you'll at least expect that there are people living here because it doesn't look habitable at all. The windows were closed, but for the communication we had established and the tracking we had established with the victims in there, we knew that there were people obviously in there, and so the police had to break this to get access to the compound, and then eventually we got access to the guys who picked up a commercial sex worker. She was a commercial sex worker, and she had just finished, running one of her, one of her clients, and then returning back to whom Kofi had come to know as her madam. And he's saying that some of these girls are trafficked from neighboring African countries and brought here to Accra, Ghana, and subjected to commercial sex works and 419, Yahoo, what we call in Nigeria, in our local parlance, online fraud. And so, yeah, what we've also come to know is that these persons, some of them might not have been unaware of what they were coming for, while most of them were brought here in the guise of getting a job in a corporate organization before being subjected to the treatments they eventually get.
Thank you for staying tuned. The federal government has confirmed the arrest of 3 Chinese nationals and 2 Nigerians for illegal mining in Nasarawa State. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, announced on Monday that the suspects were caught at an illegal site in Rafin Gaba's Kokona local government area by the ministry's mining marshals. Alake stated that the suspect had been unlawfully mining fluorite, zinc, lead, and tin since December 2021, ignoring multiple orders to legalize their operations. This unauthorized activity, covering 5 mining units, has led to significant revenue losses. The minister noted that over 200 illegal miners have been arrested nationwide, with around 140 currently facing prosecution, reinforcing the government's commitment to safeguarding resources for legitimate investors. Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, has summoned judges linked to conflicting rulings in Rivers State political cases. A National Judicial Council panel, led by a former appellate justice and 2 court heads, will investigate with a report due this week. The Chief Judge of the Federal High Court will face questioning on Tuesday, while the Chief Judge of Rivers State High Court is set to appear next week. This action follows formal complaint to the council. Justice Kekereekun, during her Senate confirmation in September, emphasized her commitment to corruption-free judiciary, vowing zero tolerance for judicial misconduct. The Ogun State High Court, sitting in Abeokuta, the state capital, on Tuesday, dismissed a request by 16 political parties and the state seeking to postpone the proposed local government election indefinitely. The presiding judge, Justice C. Okusokon, rejected the claims of the political parties that the Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission, OGSIEC, acted unilaterally and dictatorially by setting the date for the local government elections without prior consultation with the political parties. The justice held that there is no provision in the Constitution or relevant electoral laws requiring OGSIEC to consult political parties before fixing election dates. The court thus upheld the previously announced date for the election, scheduled for 16th November 2024. And now to labor matters, where the federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to fully implement the new 70,000 naira minimum wage with no half measures. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Judge Akume, made this known after meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja. Akume praised state governors who have already started implementing the policy, noting that the new national minimum wage is a top priority for President Bola Tinubu's administration. He encouraged other governors to follow suit and begin payments.
The issue of the new minimum wage has always been central to the thinking of the government of President Bola Tinubu, and that was why he quickly assembled. They put in place the tripartite arrangement to look at all the issues, and this was properly carried out. The governors were represented, the federal government was represented, the organized private sector was also part of it. So we arrived at the new minimum wage. We're very satisfied with it. And some state governments have started implementing. Others have even gone beyond 70. So I believe that there's no problem with that whatsoever. We applaud those who have started. Those who have not started, we just want to appeal to them to start the payment.
And now to updates on the industrial action called by NASU and SANO. The joint leadership of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and non-academic staff of universities say members have exhausted their patience with the federal government over non-implementation of agreement. The unions of Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike, Apir State say they are prepared to stay for as long as the strike will last. Our correspondent Chiwe Ugile has details.
The chairman of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike branch, St. Elvis Ugwuaji, and the secretary, Louis Aguku, say all measures adopted to get the federal government keep to its agreement by the national body has failed.
We have the right to go on strike, especially when our agreements have been relied on. And we have taken the necessary procedure to pass informations on this. We have done everything. We have exhausted every internal mechanism to bring the government to pay this money they are owing us. It's not just the 4-month strike.
But this should show recourse to the agreement met. Till date, none has been made. We have given several ultimatums from August that we did the peaceful protest. Till date, none has been met.
The workers complied with the order to down tools as they hang around on Monday morning. Obviously, the promise by the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Nkiru Onyejacha, to address issues last week did not succeed.
I think it's being sorted out, and I know that very soon those issues will be resolved.
Their demands are for the payment of old 4 months arrears in 2022 and fulfillment of the agreement signed by both parties.
This time around, major amongst them, not just one, major amongst them, is the 4 months withheld salaries. There was a selected payment. Our sister union, ASU, was paid 4 months out of their 8 months or thereabout salaries withheld. But other unions on campus have yet to receive anything, and that is very bad.
The Secretary, Louis Aguku, also accused the federal government of favoritism in the payment of owed arrears.
In 2022, we embarked on a strike. The government called us for a parley, and we discussed, and they said that we should suspend our strike, and that an MOU will be signed to ensure that no victimization to any of our members thereafter. However, this is 2 years and counting. None of those things have been met. Rather, they have refused to pay us our salaries, which is now victimizing us for going on those strikes. Rather than pay us the 4 months they are owing us, they paid people who they used a court action to call off.
As always, Whenever there's an industrial action, those who should be served by the workers are directly affected and denied for as long as the action lasts. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ugile.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has flagged off the upgrade and construction of the Army War College Road in Buari Area Council of the Federal Capital and other ancillary roads. The minister assured residents of the council and those in other satellite community that the FCT administration will live up to its responsibilities and ensure that infrastructural challenges are resolved. Amadine Oyi has details.
Once again, construction equipment, bulldozers, and others have been mobilized to the Ushafa area of the Buari Area Council. This time, the project being flagged off is the upgrading of the Army War College Road and other ancillary roads within the area council. The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike assured of government's commitment to ensuring that there is adequate infrastructure for residents.
This is just 1 year and some few months Mr. President has stayed in office. See what he has done in terms of infrastructure in the area council. Can you say, when he stays 4 years, what will happen in the area council? Can you say what will happen in 4 years? What will happen in the area council? My dear good people, are you not happy? Oshafa people, are you not happy?
While the coordinator of the Satellite Towns Development Department gave a vivid description of the project, the Minister of State for the Federal Capital informed those present of its benefits.
The upgrading of War College, Army checkpoints, and other ancillary roads is to bridge the infrastructural deficits in the satellite towns and area councils. Your Excellency, let me highlight the scope of the project. Upgrading of 11-kilometer roads, site clearance and earthworks, 150-millimeter thick crushed stone base, 150-millimeter thick lateritic sub-base, 60-millimeter thick asphaltic binder course, 40-millimeter thick asphaltic wearing course, construction of bores culverts and pipes lined of different sizes, construction of trapezoidal concrete line drain, construction of access slabs and culverts, and lastly, installation of solar street lights.
This significant project, which will undoubtedly enhance the infrastructure of our rural area and improve the quality of lives of our residents. This project is a testament to the fact that the FCT administration also focuses on the well-being of our rural communities.
The FCT minister assured area council residents and those residing in satellite communities that the FCT will keep to its word by ensuring their infrastructural challenges are resolved.
I can assure you, every area council will be treated very well. You don't need to worry yourself. The renewed hope agenda is real. You can see, promise made, promise fulfilled.
He urged the residents to be patient with the president, saying that the renewed hope agenda will live up to his promises. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And now to education matters, where Nigeria's federal government has tasked all students of Unity schools to be beacons of hope and unity in the country. And this was during the recently held annual general meeting of the Unity Schools Old Students Association, which held in the nation's capital, Abuja, with the theme, Education and National Unity, Our Shared Responsibility. The head of service of the Federation, who was in attendance, assured the old students that the federal government is currently upgrading infrastructure in Unity colleges around the country and also focusing on teacher development and training. Other members of the association assured that issues facing Unity schools will continue to be their focus.
The federal government is actually doing a lot to bring these Unity colleges back to what they used to be. So they're looking at the infrastructure, they're looking at the curricula, they're looking at the teachers, they are training the teachers, they're looking at so many things that would actually revamp the unity colleges. And I must commend the federal government for what they're doing. But like I said, USOSA also needs to do more.
For the 43rd time in the life of this organization, we're meeting here in Abuja again to look at the issues and take action about them, on them. Issues around unity, issues around peace, issues around nation building, but very importantly, issues around the learning economy, the secondary schools in Nigeria, public schools, which we hope to, through these platforms like this, to raise issues and provide solutions that will help the government in improving the quality of the schools. Through the resources, the talent, and the time that alumni have of Unity Schools, we're putting so much back into the system by way of our own volunteering. And we think through that, with the collaboration with the federal government as well as with other stakeholders, we'll be able to make a difference. So while there may have been deterioration, there's also a very deliberate attempt by alumni and through alumni associations to help to revamp these schools. And that's why we're here.
It's a legacy I believe Nigeria cannot afford to throw away. It's one institution beyond the military and national service that has been able to bring Nigerians together under one roof, under one policy, under one belief in the unity and integration of this country.
Today's session was all about how we can lead to our education can lead to unity, sustainable one at that. And I think we as a group are strongly united, so it's just about spreading it to the wider society. I think when more and more of us begin to see the facts that we should join hands with governments, join hands with key stakeholders to contribute to changing the dynamics or the problems that exist today in Nigeria, then we can get faster. The speeds to proper change can be much more faster.
Gender rights advocates in Nigeria have called on community heads and rural communities to allow women in their communities to practice their religion without fear or hindrances. They say Nigerian women continue to face religious discrimination as their religious rights are usually infringed on, as communities put undue pressure on them by dictating the religion they should follow. Our correspondent Idong Joseph has details.
According to available data, religious persecution and violence are on the rise in Nigeria, with women and young girls disproportionately affected. Many endure abductions, forced conversions, and marriage, discriminating against their rights to religious freedom. A notable case is the case of Leah Sharibu, who was abducted and has now been held captive for nearly 6 years for refusing to abandon her faith. These troubling circumstances, made worse by terrorist groups like the Boko Haram in the northeast, have sown discord among various religious communities.
During that time of 2019 that this crisis of Boko Haram happened in Maiduguri, the thing now creates a strong hatred between me and my Muslim friends. From there we separate, we begin to hate each other. We now look at them that maybe they are wicked, that is why they did this thing to us.
For 30 years old Dalia, fostering a better understanding of religious tolerance is key to peaceful coexistence. She and other advocates are calling on mothers to instill respect of diverse faiths in their children.
During that time of 2009, that we had this problem, my mother used to tell us that don't go to that your uncle's house because they will kill you people. They bring this dispute between us. So I now come to understand when I grow, I say, no, this one will not work. So mothers should talk to their children to unite to each other.
If women really intend peace, would get peace in our society. They have the husbands, they have their children, and all are under their control by the grace of God.
They also say that promoting women's religious rights and educating them on religious tolerance is crucial, a key reason for this training.
Everybody has the right to choose his or her own religion, and that is why we have chosen that we have time with women leaders to encourage other women to see the need to take the learning and then the knowledge of religious freedom seriously in order to promote peace and egalitarian society.
Today I'm able to listen to a Muslim woman give me outright points from the Holy Quran on that supports freedom of religion and belief. So it tells me that I shouldn't look at another religion differently.
Just like the United Nations Declaration, Article 18 of the United Nations states that everybody is free to believe, we are advocating for the religious freedom of women.
Advocates here say that when women have a better understanding of religious freedom and rights, they will be empowered to insist on their rights and help promote peaceful coexistence. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Thank you for staying with us. The news continues in Central Africa, where the president of Chad, Mahamat Deby, has paid a visit to the Lake Chad region, where Boko Haram killed around 40 Chadian troops overnight near the Nigerian border. During his visit, Mahamat Deby vowed to hunt down the militant. Members of Boko Haram targeted a garrison housing more than 200 Chadian soldiers late Sunday in the Lake Chad region, an area plagued by various armed groups. The presidency said in a statement that the attack struck near Nogoboa in the west of the country, tragically leaving about 40 people dead. Around 20 people were also wounded.
Grâce à nos braves forces de défense et de sécurité, la situation est aujourd'hui maîtrisée. Mais malheureusement,
at least 11 people have died and over 50 injured in Mozambique following violent clashes after a disputed presidential election, Human Rights Watch report. Protests erupted after a ruling Frelimo party candidate, Daniel Chapo, was declared the winner of the election October 9, leading opposition supporters to clash with riot police. HRW report, Mozambique security forces used live rounds, injuring dozens, including children affected by tear gas in residential areas. HRW's Alan Ngari called for an impartial investigation into alleged excessive force. A local NGO, CDD, confirmed 11 deaths, most in Nampula province, and noted over 450 arrests. Meanwhile, opposition party Podemos has filed a lawsuit demanding a recount, citing major irregularities throughout the election process. As Botswana gears up for the election, the voices that matter most are those of the citizens themselves. What are the burning issues that matter to everyday voters? How do they perceive the candidates and their promises? And perhaps most importantly, how do they feel about the direction the country is heading? Our correspondent there, Bongani Sisiba, spoke to some citizens to hear the perspective about the election.
As for the citizens, I can say citizens are prepared to go and vote. They've registered in large numbers, as we had more than 1 million, which we haven't seen in the past. As to whether IEC is ready, I think by and large, IEC is ready. There were those hiccups during the advanced elections, but they have promised us that indeed they're going to rectify the situation and they'll improve everything so that come election day on the 30th, everybody will be able to cast their vote who are registered.
So I think this time my thoughts are we really going to see the youth really, make that deciding vote? Because, we spoke about a hung parliament, and a hung parliament would address, or speak to a situation where the government, the BDP has always, since independence, has always been ruling.
When I cross over to our correspondent, Bongani Sisiba, who is in Gaborone, Botswana, to give us latest update. Bongani, hello, from here. Just fill us in as to how the atmosphere is in view of upcoming elections there in Botswana.
Good afternoon, Adebola, and also a very good afternoon to our viewers. I'm still in the streets, in the city center of Botswana, that is Gaborone, and a few hours from now, the president of the country will be addressing his supporters. The last rally for the day, we know that he's been going around the country, speaking to his supporters about his manifesto. What is he going to do if he is re-elected? But it's not only the president that has been going around. Also, the opposition parties have been going around, speaking to their supporters on what they will do if they are elected into power. But many of the Botswana people that I've spoken to, especially the youth, they have an outcry of unemployment, poverty, healthcare, and education system. Most of them, they are calling for change. I had one conversation with one guy who also told me that Botswana is going to Zimbabwe, where he even talked about the late Robert Mugabe, how Zimbabwe has been and where Zimbabwe is now. And he said that's where Botswana is going to. But let's take it to the streets and speak to to hear how they feel about these upcoming elections and how they are going to vote. After tomorrow's election, how are you going to vote and how do you feel as a citizen?
First of all, I think people must vote wisely because they see what's going on. The way we are going
Okay.
And that's our correspondent right there in Botswana giving us updates regarding the upcoming election. We apologize for that network glitch. Puerto Rico's Archbishop has called on Donald Trump to personally apologize after a comedian speaking at his rally called the U.S. territory a floating island of garbage. Trump's team have tried to distance himself from the comment, while Vice President Kamala Harris has condemned them. For News Central, our international correspondent, Apir has more.
Donald Trump told supporters he's not a Nazi, using a rally in the final week of a bitter White House race to refute accusations of authoritarianism, including from a former top aide who branded him a fascist. As he and rival Kamala Harris, the current vice president, enter the final stretch of one of the closest U.S. elections in modern times, each candidate and their teams have ramped up the political rhetoric, inflaming an already tense campaign. Democrat Harris, who has accused Trump of stoking divisions, crisscrossed Michigan on Monday, whilst the Republican visited Georgia, another of the decisive swing states, where he said critics are accusing him of being a modern-day Hitler.
Really, both words. They use it. He's Hitler. And then they say, he's a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite of a Nazi.
The comments come a day after Trump held a major rally in New York's famed Madison Square Garden that was widely condemned for racist remarks his allies made during the event. Harris, aiming to become the country's first female president, slammed that nonsense last night at Madison Square Garden as she spoke to reporters before boarding Air Force Two on Monday.
This is not new about him, by the way. What he did last night is not a discovery. It is just more of the same and maybe more vivid than usual. Donald Trump spends full time trying to have Americans point their finger at each other, fans the fuel of hate and division, and that's why people are exhausted with him.
A top Harris surrogate, former President Barack Obama, was in Philadelphia rallying her supporters and assailing Trump's allies for trotting out and peddling the most racist, sexist, bigoted stereotypes, according to him. As the clock ticks down, the challenge for Harris and Trump is both to energize core supporters and pull in the tiny number of persuadable voters who might still tip the balance, especially in the 7 swing states, where polls have them running neck and neck. Today, Harris will deliver what her campaign calls a closing argument from the same spot near the White House where then-President Trump stoked his supporters on January 6, 2021 to launch a violent assault on the U.S. Capitol. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
And for more context, we are joined by our chief international correspondent, Apir Hagen. Apir, just bring us up to speed. What's the latest from the campaign trail?
Well, we heard that Kamala Harris is going to make what her campaign are calling her closing remarks just at the same spot near Capitol Hill where Donald Trump incited people to riot on January 6, 2021. Now, we're also waiting for Donald Trump to make remarks at his Mar-a-Lago resort. That is coming up in the next few minutes. We're not entirely sure what he is going to say. He was supposed to be in Pennsylvania today, but he will be making some remarks at that resort, at his resort in Mar-a-Lago, in the next few minutes. He will then go to Pennsylvania, where he will be hosted by the group Building America's Future. His running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, will be at another event in a battleground state. He's going to be in Michigan. And then for the Democrats, former First Lady Michelle Obama is going to headline a rally aimed at boosting voter turnout in Atlanta today.
Well, what's the, atmosphere like? Do you sense any apprehension in the air as to who is going to win this election or even the electoral process?
Well, it's clear that as we get closer to Election Day, it's only 7 days away, the tension is increasing. There has been a couple of fires noted at ballot boxes, and these are boxes where people mail their votes. So these are the mail-in boxes, and a couple of them have been set on fire in the Pacific Northwestern states. And that is causing some nervousness amongst people who think that their votes could have been destroyed. A few hundred votes have been destroyed in those fires. There was also a recent poll has come out that a majority of Americans believe that Donald Trump won't accept the 2024 presidential election results. So according to the new poll, 30% of registered voters, only 30% of registered voters believe he will accept the result. Which means 70% feel that he won't. And that contrasts with Kamala Harris, where registered voters feel that 73% of them feel that Harris will accept the result if he loses. The poll also found that 95% of Harris supporters don't believe that Donald Trump will concede if he loses, and 57% of Trump supporters believe that he will concede and accept the results. So there is some nervousness around this issue of conceding the results, of stepping aside when the result is called. Now, in 2020, it took 4 days for the result to actually be finalized. So the election took place on a Tuesday, and we didn't get the result into the Saturday. And that's because during the pandemic, there was lots more people who mailed in their votes, and they physically take a lot longer to count. Now that the pandemic is more or less over in 2024, lots more people will be going out to vote. There will be mail-in votes to be counted, but not as many. But we still may find a delay in declaring the result of this election because it is so tight. So voters do have this kind of concern that perhaps one side or the other won't concede the election, and that could lead to a situation similar to the one we had on January the 6th, 2021, where people were incited to riot and cause violence at the US Capitol.
Well, like they say, Afia, fingers crossed. We'll keep in touch with you, of course, to see how this, turns out. Many thanks indeed, Apir Hagen, our international correspondent. Reactions have continued to trail the sacking of Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag, with the team languishing 14th in the Premier League table after 9 games. United have appointed the assistant manager and former striker Ruud van to take over on an interim basis. Fans in Indonesia have shared some of the thoughts on the sacking after 2.5 years at the helm of Manchester United. That's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Transmission Company of Nigeria assures of effort to restore power to Nigeria's northern states in 5 days. court dismisses request by political parties to pause the postponement of the local council elections in Ogun State. As protests continue over the outcome of Mozambique's election, 11 people have been killed in a violent clash with police. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, Channel 422, Star Times, Channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba.